Now it's maybe. I don't know. Ah, here it is. Hello, everybody. I am Captain Shotgun, your amazing host, as always. And today I'm joined yet again by Captain Xavier, who I cannot thank enough for being on my stream a second time. I do not know why he agrees to sit here and listen to me talk and engage in conversations with me, but he does. So I thank him for that. So,
Sandwich.
Captain.
Sandwich. Ah. I have a sandwich, and
Who
that's all
is.
you're going to get out of me for a little bit.
What type of sandwich is that? Peanut butter and jelly?
It is the classic peanut butter and jelly sandwich. Blackberry jelly on
Ooh,
Seattle French bread.
I am jealous. I am
You should be.
jealous.
It is delightful.
I love a good peanut butter and jelly sandwich. All right, so we got a couple things to talk about today. We're going to go over a couple of new-ish blasters that have came out over the last year, 2024, 2025. Couple topics. The first one on our list today is the BK1S. I believe Captain Xavier has the 2S?
No, I've got a 1S.
Or do you have the 1S?
I've got
Okay,
the 1S.
so we have the same thing. I absolutely love mine. I've never had an AEB before, so it's a completely new world. But it seemed like a good one to start with. I've had very little issues with it. It's been very, very finicky about the darts. Unless you use nitro salt bamboo darts, it does not shoot straight or across the room.
It's one that I found was finicky about darts as well. A lot of AEBs seem to be. What's the other one I got? The Soldier 77 also really likes bamboos, doesn't care much for anything else. I've had more issues with my BK1S than I've had with my Soldier 76, but that's mostly because I keep forgetting to fully charge the battery for the BK. I've got the skinny one that goes in the buffer tube, and I kind of wish I had opted for, or they'd sent me the one where the wiring goes into the grip and you can use a larger battery.
Yeah.
And you can just open it up and rewire the battery cable and then get an expanded battery cap to go on the grip. In fact, I probably have one that will work. And I might get around to doing that at some point and seeing if that causes fewer issues. But it's just a delightful blaster to fire. I've loved AEBs because my first blaster was an AEB. When I got the first blaster I bought when I got into Humans versus Zombies was a Stampede that went on to become Ire. So I've always loved AEBs. Just the recoil of it, the sound of it, everything about them.
Oh yeah.
I love that the new stuff that's coming out. The Half Dart exclusive ones are so much more powerful. You're getting 150, 200 plus FPS out of the box with an AEB. Is just really, really cool. The one downside to the BK is it doesn't take Talon mags naturally. A little bit of filing with a file, and you can get it to take Talon mags. And one of these days
I've seen 3D printed kits where they're replacing the whole front of the mag well.
Yeah, and that's one way to do it, but you can do it just by taking a file and cutting it so that it's the right shape. I'm going to try that first, just because that seems much easier. And because I'll never use it if it can't take Talon mags, because then I have a magazine for it. And why would I use that when I've got a perfectly good Soldier 77 that takes Talon mags and looks a lot less like an AR?
Oh yeah, definitely. I should have been brave enough to do that, but I do not have the money to replace it if I screw it up. So I decided to just buy a couple magazines and use it at home. So I've got 3 magazines. And I like it. I have the Xbox Games body kit for mine, and it is amazing. It's so much more comfortable. But I actually had a unique problem that I asked around on the Discord and on Facebook. Nobody seemed to have this problem. If you take off the buffer tube, there's 2 tabs that come off the main body where you can thread on the buffer tube. And one of mine broke off.
Oh dear.
On one half of the shell. So I reached out to Out of Darts, and they are sending me a half of the shell that is broken for free for me to replace.
Out of Darts is awesome that way.
Yeah, I mean, I gave them the order number, and they just did it. I was like, "You want me to pay for shipping or anything?" And they're like, "Nope." So that's fantastic. But I'm looking forward to getting it back in action because it is fun. I need to get more bamboo darts though. I have like 30. I have what came with the Striker 2.0 and what came with the Venom. That's all I have for bamboos.
I thought for a while there, Dart Zone had a deal on their Nitro Plus. From their website, you can get the Nitro Shot Plus 150 for $15. They had
That's not
one.
horrible.
I thought they had one where you could get 900 for 70. That might have just been an
God, that'd
exclusive
be
thing
awesome.
because I know the guys at Dart Zone.
Yeah.
You know what? Send me your address because I have about 10,000 of the previous generation of bamboos, and they actually don't fit the drawer that I keep them in. So I have about a gallon that don't have anywhere to go.
Wow. Yeah, I'll take them. I'll definitely take
I'll mail
those.
them to you.
You know what? I can even send you a shipping label if you give me a box size, if that makes it easier for you.
It'll be the size of a gallon tote of ice cream.
Well, I mean, just give me like box dimensions, and I can send you I'll send you a shipping label for it. That solves that problem because I just bought 2,000 worker standard darts, like the Gen 3 standard rate.
Yeah.
My club's buying them from Air and Mayhem and for training and stuff, and they didn't have enough for the bulk order. So I was like, hey, let me get 2,000. So I have 2,000 for $95, which is nice. I'm counting that as amazing because I've been using the same bag of darts for like a year.
No, they start to get worn out after a while.
Yes, they definitely do. I don't know where I'm going to put them all, but I will make space.
You know what I should also test? I haven't actually tested the long wang darts in my BK1.
Ooh,
because I've got 15,000 of those. And those are already in boxes. So I could send you 1,000 of those and not notice that they were missing. But I'll test them in mine first just to make sure they work. If not, then I'll send I think they're 2nd gen bamboos. Also, somebody sent me a gross of cases. I got sent a dozen cases of Mark 1 bamboo darts. People send me stuff. It's weird.
Well, it's impressive if you ask me.
There's that too. It's handy. It's neat that I
until you run out of space
anymore. Yeah, that's the problem. And then you realize, wait a minute, I can give stuff away. And then
definitely. I just bought probably 10 or 15 used brasters for my buddy, secondhand brasters. So shout out to him real quick. He gave me an amazing price, and I got so many things I've never even touched before. But I very quickly realized that even though I just redid my entire closet with pegboard and everything, where I keep all my brasters, that I still do not have enough space. I'm about to try and find a shipping container to put in my backyard.
Yeah, I converted a barn into storage and it's full.
I still need to come visit you, man. That's on the list for this year. Probably sometime in the fall because I start college this year, so I will probably be in the fall. All right, comments. Nerf Talk is asking how do the dragon darts do with it? So I assume you mean the BK1S, and I don't have any of those darts. So
I think I have like 5 of them, and I haven't tried them. But they're a bambooed version made of the same material as Ultra darts, so they're super lightweight, which means they're probably going to give you a great chronograph reading and then give you really disappointing performance because they don't have the mass to keep up the velocity.
Yeah, that would be the big problem.
I have heard good things about them, just that they're expensive and hard to get a hold of.
What brand makes those? I haven't even heard of them, or I've probably heard of them and never even gave it a second thought.
China. They don't come with any specific blaster that I know of. Or if they do, it's like the Fire Rat or something. So it's some obscure off-brand XWG or GZL or whatever they've changed their acronym. Yeah, whatever they've changed their acronym to.
I absolutely love the Viper The Viper 200S. I have 2 of them. I only have 2 because I broke one. I couldn't get it back together. I took it apart to mod it and couldn't get it back together. I don't know why, but I got 2 of them now.
There's a lot of that around.
Okay, next thing on the list is the Fury X. Do you have the X-Shot Fury X yet?
I
Oh,
do
you don't
not.
have one.
I've never been a big fan of bullpups in general. Let's look it up though. X-Shot Fury X.
I have one right here next to me.
The Skins Pro Series.
They opened up pre-orders on Amazon sometime last year, like fall is, like October is, and I missed the pre-order to get into that. And then about 2.5, 3 weeks ago, someone posted on Facebook that they found them in the Amazon Europe, like Europe Amazon or whatever. So I ordered one because I thought the blue and white was a limited edition color from Europe. And then not even 5 days later, they are on Target shelves. So I paid double for mine.
Yep. According to the website, they're at Target, they're at Walmart, they're on Amazon.
Yep.
Kmart still exists?
What? How is that possible?
Cracker Barrel, big lots. Dollar General. They could have them here in Vader.
Oh.
What you got to love about
Dollar General?
They are the cheapest blaster brand, and yet they're still coming out with genuinely pro-level blasters. But Dollar General prices.
Yeah, the Fury X is $15, and I think it's the best blaster we're gonna get this year. It has fantastic performance. It's pretty sturdy. Like I've had no issues with it jamming. I've had no issues with the plastic quality or anything like that. It's just all around good. I put a stock X-Shot long shot spring in it and got it to 175 without a barrel mod or anything else. No lube or anything. Yeah. Just a bigger spring, and it's still got an insanely good prime on it.
Yeah, it's baffling how they're pulling that off. The only thing my only complaint about the X-Shot long shot was that the plastic felt really, really cheap. It didn't break, other than the plunger tube, but that's a $15 part to replace. But it just feels like it's really thin, brittle plastic. But I've never heard of anyone's like shattering on them. So
yeah, that's about how the Fury X is. It feels like it's made out of the same plastic. There's a couple areas where there's not really anything against it on the inside, where it feels very thin, and you can tell it's just not great plastic. But it's like I could probably throw it out my second-story window, and it would be fine.
Yeah, and the thin plastic and the cheap feeling plastic is why it's $15 and not $150.
Oh yeah, and it's good internals. They fixed the plunger tube. It's made out of nylon or something like that.
Oh,
so
nice.
it's very sturdy. It's got a good metal barrel in it. I've got this orange one from the BK1S that I'm going to put in mine because it's
very
maybe an inch and a half longer. So I'm gonna throw that in mine.
I know Xfox already has a pump kit for it.
Yep. I was going to buy that from him, but then I found this new filament that I really like. It like changes colors as it prints. And I was like, hey, can I buy the files from you? I want to make it for myself. I'll pay full price for the files. And they were like, no, we don't sell files. So I was like, Rrr.
Yeah, because once you let the files go, they're not yours anymore.
I mean, I completely understand it.
Yeah, some people are perfectly willing to let their files go. Others are very, very covetous of their files, and for good reason. Because, if you put it out there and then anyone can just print it, then nobody buys it from you and you don't make any money. Which some people aren't in it for the money. Other people are. It's open source is an interesting concept, and our hobby has a really odd view on intellectual property rights. It's baffling how some people think that all files should be free and that nobody should ever be making money off of files. And that's just a weird concept because it does cost money to develop files. You have to print prototypes. You have to have printers.
Oh yeah.
You have to have software. You have to have, if you want to do it really well, you need training. It's real easy to tell the difference between something that was designed by somebody who actually has an engineering background and somebody who's just winging it in AutoCAD. And it has to do with shear lines and stresses and material forces, and there's a reason that nobody has developed a blaster that can truly rival an FDL yet, or an FDL3. There's blasters that are getting there, but even like 5 years after FDL closed down, nobody's gotten something quite as good as what they had, because they were professional engineers. They actually knew what they were doing, and they understood all of that. And a lot of the like really cool looking blasters and really neat concepts, but they're not engineered well. And then they're printed poorly. They're printed along the layer lines or in the wrong direction, so things just snap off, or things break, or they've got just regular screws going into PLA, and it's just not solid. They're not using brass inserts, or they're not using bolts. They're just screwing into plastic, which is just going to tear out. And it's interesting. I've gotten so many different 3D printed blasters at this point. I've printed some myself and just kind of looked at it going, well, that's not the right way to print that. You'd want to rotate it. And yeah, when you rotate it, it's now got a lot more supports, but it's stronger. Anyway, weird tangent. So it's interesting how some people view it that, oh, you put it on the internet, that means anybody can now take it and sell it. And that's not actually how it works. The problem is nobody in our hobby, I don't believe anybody in our hobby has ever actually gotten a patent for anything.
Yeah.
Which
that's
means
where it becomes
legally,
iffy.
once it goes on the internet, it does belong to everybody. And that's the problem. That's why some people won't release their files, is because they know that if somebody does take them and starts selling their stuff on Etsy, there's nothing they can do because they don't hold a patent. The Creative Commons license is only kind of enforceable in court. And it's mostly just a gentleman's agreement between things like Thingiverse and Etsy that they won't allow something that someone else has a Creative Commons license for. They won't allow it on their platform, but it's not legally binding in any sense. It's not protected by the government. It's only, Anyway, I print all kinds of stuff too. I printed something just yesterday. I printed a different stock attachment point for my battle axe, which I know is also on your list of things to talk about.
My very, very short wrist, but yes. And not even to mention the time in that it takes to even learn how to design stuff. I've been kind of dabbling in it a little bit just to see what it's like, and I can't even make anything like at all. It's very, very difficult. And the fact that so many people like Silly Butts, Frigonial, all of these people, Red Cow, that they just put this stuff out there for free is amazing.
It really is. And some of their stuff is really, really well designed. Some of it could use some work, but and that's the one advantage of making it open source, is that anybody can improve the files. We saw that with the Caliburn. Captain Slug put his files out on the internet and said, anybody can develop these, and if you develop a better version than what I've got, I'll make it the official version. I don't care. And the Caliburn was so popular that he didn't mind that other people were printing and selling them, because he couldn't print them fast enough. And he didn't want to have a 2-year backlog because he was the only person allowed to print them. So he just, sure, you want to print them and sell them, go for it. I don't care. He licensed it to Worker and still couldn't print them fast enough. It's amazing. And because his was open source, people created shells for it, shrouds for it, different stocks for it, different pump grips for it, different all kinds of stuff. And he just put it right up on the GitHub or wherever he was keeping his files. And it helped improve it immensely. And the same thing goes for things like Silly Butts with the shells. If he makes the shell dimensions available online, anybody can develop a blaster that takes those shells. And now you have a more universal shell system, which we didn't have before. There were a couple of blasters that took the Spring Thunder shells, but not very many. Just like Nerf came out with the Sledgefire and never produced another blaster that takes those shells.
Yeah.
They then came out with the Trinity, which could have taken the same shells, but didn't.
Oh, they actually take different cells? I didn't know that.
Yeah. No, the little pistol one and the Trinity or Trilogy or Triad or whatever the heck it's called. I can never remember. They don't take Sledgefire shells. It's a different shell. So Nerf has had 2 different 3-round shells.
It doesn't make any sense at all.
And the Sledgefire shells were much more compact. They were much more svelte. And they actually sold them just on their website. You could just buy a 3-pack of Sledgefire shells for $5. And I wish I dropped $100 on Sledgefire shells back in the day. Because I don't have as many as I'd like. And then they had a extra pack of Trilogy shells that came with a holder, I think.
I remember you saying that they used to be available at Toys R Us for like $5 for 3 of them.
Yeah.
Or something like that. That would have been amazing.
And I grabbed a bunch of them when they went out of business. I looted their shells when they went out of business, along with their Zombie Strike arrows.
Yeah.
Those went on clearance.
I've got a couple more of those I could send you if you want them, but they're all bent up and horrible. That's why I didn't send them with the Rast care package.
I got a drawer full. I'm good. You might need them someday. You can just bend them back into shape. They'll kind of rehold. Or if you get that heat gun, that'll generally help. If you're very gentle with it. If you heat them up, they should go back to their natural state first. Same thing with darts, actually. No matter how mangled a dart up, if you put them in like a laundry bag and throw them in the dryer, they'll reform.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's neat. Okay, comments. Got a lot of people in the chat. What's up, CR Nerf? How are you doing? Strong Arm Revan, how are you doing, buddy? I'm doing well, Strong Arm. Thanks for asking. Nerf Talk says, I don't even own a 3D printer. You should get one. It's completely worth the investment. Bamboo Labs sells the A1 Mini without the AMS, just the printer for like $190 right now, $200 or something like that. That's what I have. It's fantastic.
I'm leaning towards finally switching to Bamboo too, because Out of Darts has completely switched over to Bamboos now.
Yeah, I'm saving up to get the A1 with the AMS because that's what that's what Xbox uses, that's what Out of Darts uses, and they're really good printers. And I love the A1 Mini, and I'm gonna keep it. But the 2 problems is I didn't get the AMS, and this build plate's smaller, so you can't print everything.
The biggest thing I've heard about them is how fast they print.
Oh yeah. It's fast. It's fast. Very, very fast. It is important to get a good sturdy place to put it on because they shake a ton. I don't know if that's normal for all 3D printers or just these.
Just those. I have when Dr. Flux was saying when he first got his first Bamboo and he turned it on and it was just he's like, that can't be right. That's got to be wrong. It's going to come out. The print's going to be all up. No, print came out absolutely pristine, and in half the time it would normally take. He's like, I don't know what's going on anymore. The world is wacky.
I've calibrated mine like 3 or 4 times. Depending on how much I'll use it, I'll recalibrate it every couple weeks. I have it on a card table. It shakes, and when it shakes, it hits the wall, and it's violent almost. And I get pretty good prints. I've had very little failures with them. It's amazing. It's amazing. I can't stress that enough. It is the go-to beginner printer, and their software is so easy to use. It's so easy to use.
Very cool. Yeah, the one I'm still using my FlashForge Creator Pro that I got from Out of Darts like 6-7 years ago, and I've never had to recalibrate it. It's just an absolute beast, but I don't print nearly as often as Out of Darts did. I'll print something every couple of weeks, maybe. I don't I don't need to print that much because I tend to not have to print my own blasters. The printed ones tend to show up for some reason. It's weird.
Yeah, I mean that's true. I use mine every couple days unless I have a big project I'm working on. I think the longest print I've ever had was like 12 hours. Um, it was fantastic.
I think
The
the
great thing
longest
about the
I've done
bamboo
was
rabs is there's a button. You hit the button and it recalibrates itself, like by itself. You have to do nothing. You hit the button and away it goes. It's quiet too. They're
that's
so
neat.
quiet.
I think my longest print was 36 hours.
Ooh, what was that? You remember?
Yeah, proton pack agitator.
Yeah, yeah.
But that was because I was printing it at standard. I think I then switched it to fast print because it doesn't need to look pretty. It's going to be in a backpack. And it cut it down to like 18 hours or something. It was still ridiculously long, but
Yeah.
well worth the wait to, be able to just make your own proton packs on a whim.
Yeah,
Word
it's
is they will be back next month.
Oh, next month we have a time frame now.
Maybe that's the latest rumor. I cannot quote that for sure. I am planning to build a bunch of proton pack compatible blasters.
Ooh.
I want to build. I've got two. I think I found two Perseus at Goodwill's recently, and I've already got two modified Perseus myself, and they didn't come with the batteries, so I'm gonna have to convert them to 3S anyway. And I figured, you know what? This would be a good way to make money for travel this year. I will build proton pack blasters since the proton pack is coming out. So I want to build two Perseus using the Out of Darts kit that just feeds it directly from the proton pack rather than having it fill a hopper. And then I would probably build another pair of the Poor Man's Tier, the Titan.
Yep.
Since I developed the flywheel, or with the help of Buff Daddy, developed a flywheel cage that makes it really easy to convert that to proton pack. And I might make a couple of others. I'll have to see what I've got in the bins. Oh, I've got chaoses for days. I could build a couple of chaoses.
I don't know how difficult it would be because I haven't ever opened one up, but a Vulcan would be really cool.
So, Deplorable and I did that. Sergeant Deplorable and I. It wouldn't be too difficult if I developed a new cage because for him we just shoved a Jupiter cage in, and it would be a lot easier to design a custom cage actually than what we had to do to cram that thing in there. There is in fact a 3D printed kit or 3D printed files that create a mounting point so you can just mount a strife cage into a Vulcan. And what you would then have to do is modify that to have the right crush for rival, which wouldn't be particularly difficult, and then add the the pusher motor housing and a hose coupler, and it would make it a lot easier than what we went through to build the Deplorable Mark II.
Just out of curiosity,
yeah,
how much would you sell like one of the Perseus for or the Poor Man's?
I was
tier?
working up the actual I had it here. I thought I had it. Apparently, I closed it. My usual commission price, or what I used to use as my commission price, and I think it would be a bit much for these, is usually cost of parts times 2. So whatever it costs me to buy the part, I then charge that same amount for my time.
Okay. But per the hour or just in total?
Just in total.
Oh, okay.
But they're not actually a difficult mod. But they're expensive blasters to start with because they're not being made anymore. So you have to get them used. You're going on eBay and paying eBay prices or shipping prices. If I found them at Goodwill, then I'm lucky. But the approximate price of parts for the Titan would be $200 in parts. The Perseus is a little bit less at $175 in parts. So you'd be looking at, if I did times 2, that would be $400 for a Titan plus shipping, and shipping's going to be a lot because it's big. The Percy's, you're again looking at $300 or $350 plus shipping, unless I actually like bring it with me to an event that you're going to be at. Like if I bring them to Maryland Mayhem or End War, I could save on shipping that way, but you'd have to wait until that event to get it.
We'll have to wait and see because I'd love to get one. The proton packs are amazing. I have one rival blaster, a modified Chronos, and I'd love to have one just so I could take it to HVZs and stuff like that, and just to have the show off and to just mess around with. But I have to get funds together because I am currently unemployed, and my sole income at the moment is commission work, which is luckily I have a guy in Atlanta who thrifts blasters for his games that he runs for small children, and he doesn't know how to fix them. So I'm working with him for that. But still, that's not like a boatload of money.
No, but money's money. Anyway, definitely. I was probably going to, instead of going cost of parts times 2, it would be parts of cost times 1.5. Just because there isn't $200 worth of work to modify a Percy's to be 3S. Just because I've done it so many times. It's an easy mod. It's just rewiring. And then I don't have to do anything for making it take a proton pack because there's just a drop-in kit from Out of Darts for that. So, I'm paying for the kit, but it's not that much work. The Titan takes a little bit more work. There's some shell cutting and a little bit, but it's, again, not a lot. And
after you do it a couple times, you'll get faster.
Yeah, and I mean, the goal is to make money for travel, so I do want to make some profit. But yeah, there was something I was gonna say, and now it's gone.
We'll have to just wait and see what ends up happening because I won't be at Maryland. I was hoping to be at Maryland this year. That was like my one big trip because End War's 2 hours from me. But I have a family vacation going on. We're going like 10 hours away to a beach for a big beach trip at the end of the month of Maryland Mayhem, and I cannot afford that trip plus having to get a hotel room and gas money to get up to Maryland and all of that. So that is being shelved until next year. But I will be at End War.
Excellent. I will endeavor. That's one of the ones that's on my list. It's on the bottom of the list, but it's on the list. It'll depend on funds. It'll depend on how much, how many blasters I'm actually able to sell. I know with the Proton Pack coming out, there will be interest, but the Proton Pack it's not hugely expensive. It's not as expensive as you might think.
But it's expensive enough where you add it with a blaster, that becomes
if you're then buying a $350 blaster from me, it's going to add up. The other option is, of course, just to get a Juno, which is the upgraded version of the Jupiter. It's larger and it's rounder. I preferred the angular look of the Jupiter. But I've got a couple of Jupiters. Which the thing is, the Jupiter works just fine with a Proton Pack. It's really what the Proton Pack was developed around. And it's got the functionality. It's compact. It's all of that, but it's not big and bold and flashy and fancy. And some people like big and bold and flashy and fancy.
Me,
me. See, I mean, that's why I built Tyr. Tyr is not a practical blaster. It's a very cumbersome and awkward blaster, but it's a minigun with a rocket launcher built in, and that's just cool.
Who doesn't want that? Yeah, everybody wants that.
Things like the Soldier 76 being converted to Proton Pack. Soldier 76 was an awesome blaster, but it's got 30 rounds of capacity, and that's just ridiculous. But converted to Proton Pack, now it's got not only does it have a ridiculous capacity, but it has a ridiculous rate of fire. It's neat. Things like, again, the Chaos makes a great Proton Pack blaster. The Percy's makes a cool, they're big and they're bulky and it's unnecessary. But they're lighter when you convert them to Proton Pack because they don't have a battery in them anymore. They also don't have the ammo in them anymore. So, I mean, those two things alone make it considerably lighter.
That's definitely something I would love to have one day. It will just have to wait and see where funds are at and where time is at. If you do end up being an end war, just know that I will not be in the HVZ or any of the competitive. I am still 17, unfortunately, for that event.
No.
And I cannot convince my dad to go with me, and my mom has a bunch of children to chase.
No.
So I will be at FoamCon, though. I will be there all day, and I'm trying to get a table, but I can't get the staff to email me back at the moment.
Tragic.
So, but that is exciting. Let's see what's going on in the comments. Anything
what do we have
interesting?
going on in the comments?
Nerf Talk says, if I did, first thing I would print would be a Darth Vader helmet. Yeah, again, you're going to need a bigger printer for that. You can't really print a helmet on the A1 Mini, unfortunately. I have looked into it.
Unless you printed it in segments and glued it together.
True. Maybe someone else would have better luck doing that than I did. I tried doing that with the Dart Zone Outlaw holster that they had, the files, and it did not turn out good at all.
Yeah.
But maybe I'm just not good at what I'm doing. Strong Armor Evan. Hey, Captain Shotgun, what brasses did you get in your recent community post? I bet you got more than what was in the picture. I did get more than what was in the picture. I have 3 of the green ravens. I've got 3 stripes, 1 blue one and 2 orange ones, all for parts. They're all broken, but I need them for parts so I can sell mini stripes. I got a rough cut, which I've never had before, which is an amazing blaster. I've never had so much fun with a stock blaster before. That thing is awesome.
Rough Cut was one of the best blasters Hasbro ever came out with. I mean, it was their first really good functional shotgun.
It's surprisingly good. It has a good spread and it's got some decent performance. I also got a Hammer Sot, a Double Strike, a Vulcan, a Stampede, 2 Centurions. What else did I get? An Alpha Trooper, an original, what's it called? An original Nexus Pro. What else did I get? I feel like I'm forgetting something. A Hyperfire, a Rapid Strike. I think that's everything.
Nice.
But I got some good stuff.
Everything. Yeah.
Yeah, I wanted to get some stuff I've never had before and some good stuff for integrations because I'm entering in Merge Masters next month. And I needed some new stuff because I didn't want to cut up anything I already had. But for about $200, I got everything I just listed to you, which was incredibly impressive. I'm looking forward. I've already got mods planned, of course. Someone in Discord posted a mini Rapid Strike where they took the Rapid Strike and cut it down for half darts.
I've seen some really cool mini Rapid Strike builds.
I absolutely love the mini Strife. I sell those on my website. And I was like, you know what? That doesn't look too difficult. And I started talking to the person. They sent me pictures, and I'm like, I could do this. It's just cuts. So I got one of those to work on. I need to teach. I'll probably do the rewire first and then cut it down so I can teach myself how to wire it up because I've never done anything full auto, which will be exciting. And
it's
then Anthony Maritime.
The 3-switch loom is a little bit more complicated, and you have to make sure you do it right, or there is the risk of shorting out your battery because you are running a negative line through as well as a positive line. And if you solder the wrong ones to the wrong ones, bad things happen.
Yeah, so that's definitely a little bit.
For that, so
yeah, that's a little bit nerve-wracking, but it's once you do it. So I'm excited to get that done. Anthony Maritime Foam is working on a new cage for the Vulcan for his mod project because he has one that he sold from years ago, and of course, him being Anthony, and we've done stuff together before. I was like, hey, can I get the cage? Or actually, I'm planning on asking him to get the files for the cage. I'm waiting for him to make his video on it, on how to do it, because from my understanding, the Vulcan's kind of tricky on the inside of it.
It's an old style AEB, and unlike the Stampede or any of the modern AEBs, it doesn't have cycle control. So you can pull the trigger and it'll start to cycle, and if you let go of the trigger and it hasn't gotten far enough, it'll just roll back.
Yep. Oh, that's another one I got. The Stampede. I don't know if I said that, but I also got the
You did.
Stampede.
Yeah. It makes the wiring in the Vulcan much easier than in the Stampede because you don't have that third control switch.
Good to know. Good to
Yeah.
know.
The Stampedes is also fairly
Because
simple because it's rather than having a third switch like the Rapid Strike does to have cycle control, it has a mechanical cycle control where once the bolt starts moving, it holds down the trigger switch until it's completed the cycle, and then it'll let go if you've let go of the trigger. If you're still holding the trigger, it'll just keep cycling. But that's how it ensures that it completes one full cycle every time you pull the trigger, which is a cool way of doing it. The Vulcan, they just didn't bother to put that in. They could have. It wouldn't have been difficult, but it would have involved a little bit more complicated of a mechanism. And they decided, nah, it can just roll back. And it does work just fine.
the recoil on the Vulcan is just fun, and it being built fed is even more fun. It's just fun. The
it's
Stampede, I don't know what I'm going to do with the Stampede. I'm debating modding it and trying to get some better performance. But the main reason I bought it when I was talking to him and when I first decided I was going to have him throw it in the box was for an integration. I really think that'd be really good with a mini Strife. So that's why I got it.
People have done Rapid Strike Stampede integrations. You could do a Strife Stampede integration. There is a half dart kit for the Stampede that'll get it up to at least 140 FPS.
Oh, I didn't realize it got that high.
Yeah, the one that I built was getting 140 on 3S on a 9 kg spring with metal gears, I think. And then the half dart kit, the Monkey, I think it's Monkey Mods half dart kit. Might have been Easy Ease Monkey. It might have been Easy Ease half dart kit. I don't remember who the kit. I didn't buy it. Someone else gave it to me. But I built one, and yeah, it'll get up to 140 easily. The problem is it's an old designed blaster. It wasn't as efficient as the modern stuff. We've just had so many leaps in technology in blasters to where now you can build, a Lynx that you can prime with your pinky and it'll get 250 FPS. It's insane. To get a long shot up to 150, you had to have a winch to prime the thing because of how heavy the spring had to be, and it's amazing.
Yeah, it's definitely impressive. It's what I'm thinking about doing. I just haven't decided. It's going to depend if I can track down the parts or not. Right now, I consider that to be a vintage mod, so to say. And right now, my current vintage mod project that I'm trying to do is a wrong shot. I've always wanted to build a classic wrong shot mod. I have a buddy who's sending me 2 different wrong shots. One's working, one is not. And I have a couple random parts, so I'm pulling parts together at the moment.
Cool. Yeah, there's no shortage finding of long shot kits out there, thanks to Worker. And the long shot is an absolute classic. It's what started it all, really, because it had such an enormous plunger tube. It had potential, and so people put pump kits on it. They put internal kits. There were metal internal kits. It's what really got it started, and then there were still limitations to what you could do because of the shell, because of the plunger tube, because of all the stuff about it. And that's why Captain Slug just decided, you know what, I'm just going to make one from scratch. And that was the Caliburn, and then everything that we have evolved from there. Everything in the 3D printed Springer hobby is a reshelled Caliburn. to carry on Coop's joke. It's just a long shot reshell. It's just a Caliburn reshell. Yeah. Anyway. Slug is also one of those absolute geniuses in the hobby. When I first got into the hobby, I didn't even know who he was because I hadn't delved that deep into that part of the hobby yet. I was still modifying a Stampede. I hadn't gotten into modifying Springers, so I just wasn't on that part of the internet. And so I hadn't run across Captain Slug. And one day, out of the blue, some guy I'd never heard of pings me on Facebook randomly and goes, "Hey, would you like a Caliburn?" And I didn't even know what the Caliburn was. I had to Google it. Looked it up, found it on Etsy, but it was sold out. And so I told him, like, yeah, it looks pretty cool. I'd get one, but it looks like they're sold out. And it's like, I'm just going to send you one. And I managed to keep myself from asking, who are you? Because I knew that was the wrong question. Because he obviously doesn't go by Captain Slug on Facebook. It was his real name, and I didn't
Mm-hmm.
know who he was, and I didn't even know who Captain Slug was, much who his real name was. Half the world doesn't know what my real name is. I run into that all the time, and it's hilarious. And so yeah, he mailed me a Caliburn, and this all of the design work, and he, like I said, he used open source properly. He used open source the way open source is meant to be made, which is one person simply cannot possibly have the time to develop everything. But if you
Mm-hmm.
allow multiple people to develop simultaneously, you can develop, exponentially faster. And so that's what he did. He let other people develop different shrouds, different, barrels, different grips, different everything you want.
And it allows for so much customization, which is my favorite part of the Caliburn system, is how custom you can get.
But he would then peer review their design. So he would look at what they designed. He'd look at how they had it oriented. He would possibly print it himself. And if changes needed to be made, he would let them know that, because of the way you've designed this, it's going to break here, or it's going to run into this problem, or this, that, and the other thing. And so they could iterate. They could fix the flaws they had in their design, because they weren't necessarily an engineer. They were just looking at it from a cosmetic standpoint. You can make it look good, but have it not actually work or not be strong because of physics and material sciences and stuff like that. And again, that's how it should be done. It shouldn't just be anybody develops whatever they want and throw it out there, because what they might develop might be bad. It needs to be peer reviewed. And that's what he would do, is he would look at it and go, if this is better than what I have, I will adopt it. If it's not, I will send it back to you to fix, or I'll fix it myself. But, he wouldn't make something official or put his stamp of approval on it until he had actually analyzed it, looked at it, and made sure that it was being done right, which is very, very important.
Is he still designing or in the hobby anymore that you know of?
No, he stepped away for life reasons, and other people kind of took on the mantle. Out of Darts, Silver Fox, other folks, workers still, I think, producing his blasters. But as far as I know, he's currently still out, but possibly coming back.
Ooh, that would be interesting. Last time I checked his website, it said something about him being in Europe or China or something.
Yeah, he was in either Singapore or Japan. I don't remember where. Somewhere in Asia, for, like I said, life, non-hobby related reasons. So he shut down his whole operation, which was a blow to the community. You know what Worker hasn't come out with yet? Worker hasn't come out with a bullpup.
Ooh, they haven't.
They just came out with Bolt Action, which was really smooth. Unfortunately, not left-handed.
That's on my wrist. That's on my wrist to get. I've heard it's good. That's going to be my maxed out build, where I'm just going to take it as far as it can.
Well, I mean, it hits over 200 out of the box. So
yeah, I know, but still, why not?
Yeah. Well, how far can it go? Good question. Also, it's going to come down to how hard can you pull a bolt action.
I've got a friend who knows a guy who used an HPA system in a barrel that was, I think he said it was 4 or 6 foot long or something, and he got 680 FPS out of that.
Yeah, see, I got 500 out of a drain blaster in a long barrel. So out of a proper high pressure air system, people have broken the sound barrier with a Nerf dart. Using air cannons, which is just baffling and amazing. But I'd love to, I'm not a fan of bullpups, and I'd still like to see Worker come out with a bullpup. I'd also like to see them come out with an AEB. I'd like to have them come out with.
That'd be expensive, though.
It would be.
That would be very expensive. But really, all AEBs are expensive, other than the BK1S. And the BK1S is still kind of expensive, but it's very, very good pricing for an entry-level AEB. Let's check the comments.
Oh,
Nerf talk. Okay, yeah. See you later, buddy.
Sure.
Enjoy the hockey game. See you on
Enjoy
Nerf.
the
Yep,
show.
yep. Xbox Games. Hey, what's going on? What's going on, Joe? Nice to see you. I wasn't expecting to see you in the chat, but okay. Nice to have you. Nice to have you here. We were just talking about your the Fury pump kit that you did.
It won't let me chat. Yeah, we were talking about your pump kit. Oh, by the way, do you want to be on Get Off My Lawn next week? Talking to Fox. We need to get you on Get Off My Lawn one of these weeks.
I've been trying. I think I've emailed the WFA email like 3 or 4 times, and I was like, yeah, I'm probably bothering them now. So I decided to shut up. I think I sent Al a message on Etsy talking about it once a couple months ago, and I think I've even I messaged Andrew on Discord.
Well, tell you
So
what,
I was like, yeah, I may be bothering them now.
If Xbox can't make it, I'll see if Al is okay with you being on, because Flux was busy, Luchathor was busy. If Xbox is busy, we'll go with someone else. Yes.
Bottom of the barrel, but I'll take it.
Not quite. There's definitely people lower on the list than you. Yes, Joe, send me the Fury stuff, and then I'll have an excuse to go buy a Fury.
You should really get a couple. They're like $15.
Yeah, I wonder when the closest one to me is. I have to go to the big city next Wednesday.
I'd offer to send you one, but
no, don't worry about it. I'll be driving.
Probably not worth the time.
I'll be driving past multiple Walmarts and Targets on my way to my shindig.
I absolutely love mine. I'm planning on doing a live build party, I guess, or crash, one of these coming months with the XSOT Pro Longshot. I've always wanted to like host it, and then I'm gonna do like step-by-step instructions, give everybody what they need to get for the mod like a month in advance, and kind of just do like a beginner's intro.
I think
that would be so much fun.
I could go get one this afternoon if I wanted to. Only a half hour away.
Honestly, I think it's worth it. You'd be,
you know what?
You'll be very, very, very impressed.
It's Friday night, which is pizza night, and the clearest Pizza Hut is also in Centralia. I'm gonna go buy me a Fury.
Let's see.
Yeah, actually, I think you're 15 minutes from me, Joe. You're down in Castle Rock, which is everyone's in the Pacific Northwest. All the cool kids.
I need to move. I'm the only one down here in the South.
Yeah. There's a bunch of people not far from you, but I mean, Drac is in the South, but he's down in Florida now. Coop retired.
Yeah, he's down in Florida. I may end up trying to see if he wants to do something. He probably isn't going to want to do anything with me because of how small of a YouTuber I am. But I'd love to be able to come tour Braster Barnes location or something like that. I have family down in Florida who I go and visit once or twice a year. So it'd be nice to go visit him.
Yeah.
But who knows if he would
closer
actually
than coming to visit me. I'm on the other side of the continent.
Yeah, that's on the list though. That's I'm hoping to do that in the fall. Like I said, I'm planning on starting technical college this year. So one break, I'm gonna make it up there. If I can plan it right and plan it in the fall for like I can't remember what the name of the big yearly game is up there. Is it RAG? I can't remember.
Is down in California, but yeah, Ragnar Oktoberfest is the big one that's in October every year. But still, that's on the right side of the country.
So it'd be very fun to fly up there or drive up there and then spend a couple days with you and hang out with both of the Rooks at Out of Darts and just kind of be on that side of the country.
Yeah, if you time it right, we can actually, if you fly into PDX Portland Airport, then we can actually visit the Out of Darts warehouse if I pick you up from there.
Oh, that'd be so much fun. Yeah, we're just gonna have to wait and see how the year plays out because I don't even know where I'm going to school yet.
Yeah,
So
important.
there's a lot that's still up in the
you
air.
could end up in the Pacific Northwest.
Yeah, maybe. I was actually looking at a school that was in oh, I can't remember now. It was in Maine, I think.
That's
So
the other one.
No, it's not.
Is it? Maine's in the Northeast.
No, not. I can't remember. It's over there near Washington. I can't remember. Maybe it was Wyoming or something. It's closer than where I am now, so it's a step in the right direction.
Anything west of you is closer.
True.
Pretty much everything. Yeah. You never know. It's you never know where life is going to take you. I'm definitely not where I expected to be 10 years ago.
Okay, let's get on to the big topic of the evening. It's probably about that time. So Brett made a video, I want to say maybe a month ago, that got a lot of people very, very angry. He made a video on the topic modding is dead, or is modding dying? And you should go back and read the comment section of that video. And ever since then, every YouTuber in this hobby has made a video or a community post or something related to is modding dying. My personal opinion, no, it's not. I believe it's thriving. And sure, you can go buy something off the shelf that is pro level, but there's still a lot of people like me who want something that's different, that's less common, which is one of the reasons I want to start the online modding shop, because I think that would be very helpful to get new people into modding without having to dive in by themselves, so to speak.
Give me a second. I'm looking at the comments.
No problem. I'm reading them too.
It's unfortunately a half-hour long video, and I would need to. It would. Some interesting points.
There's a lot of good points there, but it's really, to me, it's a personal preference. Some people are going to think modding is dead because they are fine with something off the shelf. Other people are going to think, like me, that it's thriving because they want something different, or they like mechanical stuff like me, and they just want to be able to mess with stuff that does stuff.
I think there's possibly just the illusion that there's less modding than there used to be. Because once upon a time, the only way to get a performance blaster of any kind, anything over 100 FPS, was to mod it. And so everybody was modding their blaster if they wanted to get 100. And so there was a constant stream of people posting their mods. But now getting a blaster under 150 FPS is now difficult. You have to mod blasters to make them less powerful so that you can use them at some events. And that's not interesting. And so you're not going to post that you've done that. And as you said, because you can go to Walmart and buy a 200 FPS blaster now for $50, there isn't the requirement to mod. That doesn't mean people aren't modding. There just isn't the requirement. And it's become less interesting because anybody can have a blaster that hits 200 FPS now. So showing off your build of how you got your blaster to hit 175 FPS, that's not going to impress anybody. 7 years ago, that would have been very impressive. Now that's like, yeah, you bought a Nexus, good for you. But if you've gotten a long shot to hit that, that's actually still slightly impressive. But that's not interesting anymore. There's also a lot less jank modding. You don't see people modding stuff out of stuff they bought at a hardware store anymore. Because again, you don't need to. Back in the day, you had to. That was the only way to mod, is you had to do it from scratch. You had to make your plunger tube out of ABS pipe. You had to pick a random spring you got in the hardware section. You were using brass for your barrels and cutting your own breeches and stuff like that. And that's really interesting and very innovative and very cool to look at. Whereas I put a heavier spring in my Harrier isn't interesting, but it's still modding. Changing the barrel on
it's
your
definitely still
Harrier, changing
modding.
the spring,
It's just easier.
Yeah, and same thing with 3D printing is people are developing amazing 3D printed blasters, but they're somehow still not as interesting as a jank blaster, and people don't see I designed a 3D printed blaster as modding. They see that just as blaster development. They don't see a custom designed 3D printed flywheeler as a modded blaster. They see that as just a stock blaster because it's fabricated. You're not making it out of spare parts. And so people don't see that as modding. The old jank modding is definitely on the decline because it's not necessary anymore. You don't need to build plunger tubes out of hardware parts. We found better materials. We found, plastics that you can make plunger tubes out of. We found metal you can make plunger tubes out of. And so you're custom cutting those or having those custom designed rather than janking it out of PVC.
And who's to say that's a bad thing? That's a fantastic
thing. It's
thing.
Not a bad thing. The beauty of it becoming so mainstream is that anyone has access to it now. Back in the day, if you didn't have engineering skills, if you didn't have a shop full of parts, you couldn't get into high performance Nerf. Now all you need is $15 and a way to get to Target, and you can get a high performance blaster. And that means more people can get into it. And to the gatekeepers and the people who liked being the elite, they don't like that because now they're not special because everyone is. But I'm very strongly more fun for everyone. You may recall that motto. I still believe in that. And so the fact that everyone can get into high performance Nerf, I feel, is a good thing. Now, as you said, some people still want something that is unique. They want to build a one-of-a-kind integration. They want to 3D design their own blaster that is different from anybody else's and not put the files out there so they could be the only person to have that. Or they want to integrate things that have never been integrated before. And that does still happen. It does happen less, I think, or people aren't as interested in it, perhaps. One of the comments that was on Brett's post was that so many people put so much emphasis on performance that if you weren't hitting over 200 FPS, your blaster was garbage and we don't want to see it. And that definitely decreases the creativity a lot because some people don't care about hitting over 200 FPS. Their local game only allows 150. Why would I build a 200 FPS blaster if I can't use it?
Yeah, exactly.
They were discouraged from showing it off because if they showed off their amazing integration that they made, but then somebody asks what the FPS and they go, well, it's 150. And they go, well, that's garbage. Get that trash out of here. That's just a horrible attitude. And there's so much of that on the internet. If you're not doing it the way I think you should be doing it, then you shouldn't be doing it at all. And that unfortunately drives people away.
Which is not what we should be doing. We need to get more people in the hobby. We need to make it more accessible.
Absolutely. And as I've said in many streams and on many videos, Nerf is the second most popular toy after Lego. It is $1 billion industry. Pretty much every household in America that's got a kids probably has a Nerf blaster of one kind or another. And the only reason they're not more into it is they don't know that our hobby exists. They don't know that there are people hosting big Nerf events at the city park 2 blocks from their house because we're nerds and we're lousy at advertising. It's really what it comes down to. And it also doesn't help that the big companies aren't pushing our hobby. You never hear Hasbro talk about Nerf Wars. You never even hear Dart Zone talk about Nerf Wars. And I understand why, because our hobby is deeply into modding. And to Hasbro, the modding community is a litigation nightmare because some kid's going to watch my video on how to upgrade their blaster. They're going to upgrade their blaster. They're going to shoot their little brother in the eye, and Hasbro is going to get sued because it was a Nerf blaster that did it. They're not going to come after me because I have no money. Why would you come after me? Hasbro is $1 billion company. You're going to go after Hasbro. Hasbro has really good lawyers who are probably going to just tell them to settle. So I understand why Hasbro doesn't push it, because if they endorse it and something bad happens at one of those events, Hasbro can get blamed. Is it Hasbro's fault? Absolutely not. But in America, that doesn't matter. Hasbro has the money. Hasbro's who you sue.
Yeah.
So it's harsh, and then that's why that doesn't happen. But we should be better at advertising. We've got YouTube. We used to have TikTok. We'll have TikTok for another 2 days. But we've got Facebook. We've got Reels. We've got all those other places. If we could get better at advertising, the events would get bigger and bigger and bigger. The problem we then run into, and we already ran into it at Fort Borst, there were events this last year at Fort Borst that were pushing the capacity of Fort Borst. There were too many people. There wasn't enough cover. There wasn't enough room.
But that's a good problem to have.
It's a potentially good problem to have unless you can't solve it. Eventually, if we had 400 people show up, we wouldn't be able to function. There wouldn't be any way to actually run a game with 400 people on that space. There just isn't enough room. And so one of the things that we're working towards is splitting it up. We want games that are happening in the Seattle area. We want games that are happening in the Portland area, instead of us just always meeting in the middle. And that way you could have, 100 people at an event in Seattle, 100 people at an event in Portland, rather than 200 people at an event in Fort Borst. But yeah, we are growing. We are growing very, very quickly. And it's a beautiful, beautiful thing. And a lot of it has to do with the fact that those high-power blasters are now available at Walmart. Because somebody gets one of those, and now they really want to go be able to play with it. You can't really play with a Striker 2.0 in your suburban backyard. It's not big enough. The thing hits too hard. You need to be further away. And so you want to go and it's got enough power that you want to be able to fight against somebody who's got something that's also that powerful, and then you start looking into, where it goes and how it gets, you end up at the big events. And there's more and more, because remember, once upon a time, not that long ago, 5 years ago, the only big event was End War. That was, if you wanted to go to a really big Nerf Invitational event, you went to End War, or there was nothing else. Now there's End War, Maryland Mayhem, Pennsylvania Survival Fest, Ragnar Oktoberfest, Mall Madness. GCC is constantly holding invitationals. There's invitationals all over the place now. And they just keep getting bigger and bigger and bigger. And Nerf 5v5 and 3v3 is getting bigger and bigger and bigger. HVZs get bigger and bigger and bigger. The general community with having the convention, where you've got all the big retailers are showing up. Out of Darts and Silver Fox and Xfox and Monkeytron and Monkey Mods and Al the Geek and Containment Crew and all of them are showing up. And it's incredible.
I think the thing that's important to remember for anybody in the hobby, really, we're all just a bunch of nerds. We all have access to the internet. We can all start a small YouTube channel. If you have a small YouTube channel and you get 50 people to watch your videos who don't know anything about the hobby, that's a win. It doesn't matter if you're getting, 30,000 views like Welcome does, because he has a bunch of repeat viewers who are already in the hobby. If you can just go out in your small town and start meeting people and start up conversations, that helps. Strong Armor Evan, I know of a Facebook Nerf club in my city, but I can't play due to it being far away from me. I hope once I get gear, I can go to Nerf Wars. I mean, definitely. You don't even have to. I guarantee you aren't as far away as I am. I am in upstate South Carolina, and I drive 4-ish hours to Atlanta once a month to go play at the Atlanta Blaster Club games, and then 4 hours back in the same day for like an 8-hour event, 6 to 8 hour event. You just, if you're really passionate and you really want to be able to go to games, You have to be willing to drive or fly or whatever you got to do to get it. And I get that some people don't have the money for that. It's 2024 has been a rough year. 2025 is still a rough year so far. Um, I haven't been able to make it the last couple of months just because gas is expensive and my Jeep takes so much gas.
Where
But
roughly are you?
upstate South Carolina,
Oh, South Carolina. Okay.
yeah, I've already scoured the internet trying to find a club, and honestly, I don't have time to try and put together my own club or find someone down here who wants to help me put together my own club. So,
Yeah.
but that's on the list for one day. Um,
Yeah,
one day.
I'll guarantee you there's people in your town who would play if they knew it was happening and if somebody else would run it. That's always the hard part. Nobody wants to run the Nerf event. They want to go play at the Nerf event. And something like that, to make it
Definitely.
not just a bunch of people running around the park shooting darts at each other, it needs to be
You,
organized.
there
Who's
has to be someone
running?
who's not having as much fun, who's
Yeah,
organizing it
who's
and keeping
organizing the
it fair.
scenarios? Who's running the scenarios? Who's bringing the MacGuffins? Who's refereeing the match? Who's watching the timer? Um, and I'm more than happy to do that just to exist in a world where that happens. So I'm one of the primary people who help run Fort Forest, along with Sergeant Deplorable and a handful of other volunteers that help. They also play. They play a lot more than I do, but I wouldn't be able to do it without the help that they do provide. The person running the chronograph and all of that. But yeah, it just somebody has to take the time to get it started and has to be willing to continue to do it, and it's a lot of time and a lot of effort and a lot of investment, but ultimately worth it.
Oh yeah, definitely. And if I wasn't planning to go to college this year, that's something I would do. I know of multiple paintball parks that are only open on the weekends where I could be, hey, can I, run an event during the week? Um, who would probably more than happy to be like, yeah, sure, go ahead. Um, just because they have the space. Um, but again, like you
Venue,
said, it takes
yeah,
time, it takes energy, and it takes people willing to
the
make it happen.
the hardest part, the hardest part about organizing any event, doesn't matter what the event is always going to be location. Location will be your first and your hardest hurdle. Um, yeah, if you can do it in a local city park, fabulous. You're good to go. After that, that's the hard part. If you've got a
Yeah.
local city park you can do it in, you're good to go. If you don't, now it's a lot more difficult. Or if you're like the Pacific Northwest, where it gets cold and damp here in the winter, if we want to run events, we have to find an indoor location. And now you almost certainly need money because very few indoor locations are going to let you use their space for free.
Yes, and it's
Unless
hard
you
to
can find
justify
somebody that
spending
owns a building.
who's willing to let you use it, which is the
Yeah,
problem because it's hard to justify spending $600-700 to rent a venue when you don't even know if anyone's going to show up.
yeah, that's the biggest hurdle. We actually do have somebody up here now who got a venue and is running winter events. The last one was this last weekend. I wasn't able to make it. It's in a mall up north of Seattle, or it's a section of the mall. They walled off a section of the mall. I don't know why they
Wow.
decided they're just a section of the wall. They just built a wall across the hallway, and then the whole section is just closed off. And for somehow he found out about it, and they were willing to let us run Nerf Wars in there. And it's not a huge venue, but it's better than nothing because we can Nerf in the rain, we can Nerf in the dark, we can Nerf in the cold because we're indoors. But he does have to charge for it because he has to pay for the location, and people have been perfectly willing to pay because otherwise they get no Nerf. In the summer, we hold it at Fort Borst. We hold it at city parks where it's free because the venue is free. But if your venue costs money, then you have to charge money. And a lot of the reason people got into Nerf is because they thought they wouldn't have to pay to be able to play because, well, we play in parks, which is
Mm,
cool, but there
there's
are
limitations
expenses.
to that. And then
Yeah,
you have to deal
there's
with the city and you have to deal with the public and everybody else. Having a good
and cleanup
private
is a lot
venue,
more difficult, and you often have to bring your own
yeah.
cover, and you have to deal with random people walking their dog through the middle of your Nerf war because they couldn't be bothered to go around, and that's fair. It's a city park, and we don't have it reserved. They can just walk through the middle, and we could play while they're there. It would make us look like jerks, but these are the things you have to worry about.
True that.
Public events also have the problem is it's a lot more difficult to decide who comes. Sometimes there are people that just don't play well with others, and you don't want them there. But if you're in a public park, what are you going to do about it?
They can show up if they want to or not.
Yeah, if it's a private event, you get to decide who can be there. If it's not, then less. Also, some venues are going to require you to have insurance in addition to charging for the site. And now you have to worry about event insurance and all of that.
And that can get pricey.
It can, depending on how you set it up. But once you get it going, once you actually get organized and you actually get your event insurance and get all of that formed, if you actually form an LLC or a 501c3 or a nonprofit or whatever, then you have the basis to be able to run something like Ragnar Oktoberfest or Maryland Mayhem or End War, where you can have those big invitationals, because those are going to require the kind of venue that requires you to have insurance.
Oh,
You
yeah.
couldn't run End War in a city park. There's just no way you could even consider doing that. It's got to be on some kind of a campus, and the campus is going to want both. You're going to need to pay to use their location, and they're going to expect you to have insurance in case you break something or hurt somebody. And that just is, again, another logistic step that you have to get through. And we're starting to get that started here in the Pacific Northwest. I would love to have a big HVZ up here someday. There used to be HVZs at pretty much all of the colleges up here. WSU, UW, WWU, Evergreen, they all had HVZ clubs. I don't know which ones did or didn't survive the plague. Now, that shut down a lot of HVZ clubs, and then a lot of them weren't able to get started because a lot of campuses didn't like HVZ in the first place because it was guns on campus, which is understandable. We know.
And then they had a reason to stop it.
Yeah, well, they had a reason to not start it again. They couldn't come up with a good enough reason to shut it down, but when it shut down on its own, they then just didn't let it start again. And that's sad, but again, also understandable. It's the unfortunate truth of the world we live in. Not to get into politics. You mentioned that. Let's not do that. But, yeah.
But touching back on End War real quick, to anybody who's planning on going, especially you, Captain, like you said, if you're planning on going and actually praying in the HVZ, just know that it's going to be 90-ish degrees, if not higher, and the humidity is going to kill you. Take this from someone who's lived in the Carolinas their entire life. It will not be fun. I had it was a long walk from the car park to where they were having FilmCon last year because of how hot it was. It's uncomfortably hot. So take a lot of water, take breaks, and stay safe.
The last End War I went to was 2019 in Georgia. And it was 98 degrees, 98% humidity. It was unpleasant.
Oh, I can imagine. I can only imagine how that'd be.
Yeah, that's why I now own camouflage shorts. I wish I'd had them at the time. That was back when we were still dumb enough to be wearing all black tack gear.
Yeah.
We have learned. We learned.
I need to get some better gear. So I've gone to Atlanta Bachelor Club twice, and I played in one full day of games. And I use a belt, like just a regular belt, with one worker pouch that holds 2 magazines. And then I have a bunch of random magazines stuffed in my pockets. I don't even have all like matching magazines. I have 3 Black Talon magazines, and then I have a bunch of like random magazines that have came with different brasters.
Yeah.
And they get loaded up and shoved in my pocket.
Well, you got to get yourself some scared gear, man. It's the best.
I've heard it's on the list to do, but like I said, money is something that is not in big surprise.
Yeah. But
since I'm not playing in a lot of games until it gets warmer and not snowy where I am, it's not at the top of the list. I'd rather spend money on cool stuff like a band breast or rival cage.
Yeah, stuff like that. But when the time comes, I cannot recommend Scared gear enough. You
Oh
can
yeah,
get it
I'm looking
from
forward to it.
Containment Crew. You can get it from Silver Fox. I was absolutely baffled at how good the quality of the equipment was. I was
And
expecting it to
it's
be
pretty
cheap
affordable
China
too,
stuff.
like compared to other
Yeah,
gear. It's
yeah.
very affordable.
It's the
I
same
was
price
going
as
to
any other gear. It's just in whatever bright color you want.
oh
And it
yeah.
is pretty awesome.
I was gonna order a bunch of gear from Phone Mando. And then it was like if I wanted to get like all the gear I wanted, it was gonna be like $900. I was like, I'll let
That's
you know.
the that's the downside of handmade custom stuff is you
Yeah, I mean
pay
it's
for the
handmade and it's
handmade.
custom and it's cool, but I can go to like SCRD or however or whatever the acronym is, and I can get all of the gear I need for like $300. So
Yeah.
that's on the list, and that will happen eventually.
Yeah.
Right now, my current projects that I have going on is the Strife Centurion integration I showed you,
Yeah,
and
you
I
mentioned that.
am
Looking
and I'm
gorgeous.
it's getting good. It's the first one I've ever done, and I've gone through like 6 or 7 bottles of DevCon. I need to order more of it, uh, but I have. I'm gonna do a video on the Fury X and possibly the rough cut, and then I'm gonna go radio silent for the rest of the month. Um, because in February when Merge Master starts, I'm going to be live streaming every single day for whatever I decide to build. I'm going to live stream every single day, the entire build process, mainly because my editing on my phone, I cannot do anything over like 10 minutes wrong. So if I try and record everything and then put it into a video, it won't turn out. So I'm going to do live stream every single day to get like every single detail like documented, and then at the end of the day I'm going to do a quick like 1 minute overview of what I did that day, and then at the end of the week all of those little bits are going to go together into one big video. So
Nice.
it's going to be exciting, but that's going to be a very very long project.
I am soon going to have fiber internet again.
Ooh.
They have wired Vader. I am on the list to get a fiber drop to my house. I just need to switch ISPs because apparently CenturyLink, my current ISP, doesn't provide fiber, which is weird because I had fiber when I lived in Tacoma through this company, but apparently they don't provide down here. Anyway, I will have fiber internet and I will actually be able to live stream again more
Oh, that'll
often
be exciting.
right now I'm either doing it through my really poor broadband or through my phone, which is not good quality. I am also uploading videos is a nightmare. It takes so long to upload videos. And I'm looking forward to not having that problem anymore.
Yeah,
They
I hear
originally
that.
said it wasn't going to be here until 2027. And then our mayor got a grant, or the county got a grant. Somebody got a grant and got it 2 years earlier. So
Well, that's
I'm
good
excited.
news.
Yep, I got
Yeah.
the confirmation this morning that my request has gone through. My payment has been accepted. Now I just have to schedule the actual installation and then work with the ISP to get service.
I am looking forward to more Captain Xavier live streams. Who else is looking forward to
Yeah,
that?
there
Let's see what's going on.
we'll probably start doing more live streams when I host events here at my place. So I mean, I could actually then I could live stream the arena if I could get an internet connection out there. Just run a network cable and set up some webcams, and we could live stream arena play. Which would be awesome. We could also then, when we sit down for dinner and we just all sit around talking about Nerf, we'd have Silver Fox, X Fox, Out of Darts, me, Luchathor, Dr. Flux, Sergeant Deplorable, all sitting around talking Nerf.
That would be fun to watch.
That's worth watching. That's fun to watch.
Hell,
I
I'll
hope
sit
to
down and eat dinner with you
eventually,
from home.
yeah, I'd love to eventually start doing build parties again. And live stream that, because wouldn't you love to see us all sitting around my makerspace all working on different projects and
That
just
would be awesome.
carry the camera around going, okay, Luchathor's working on this, Flux is working on this, Deplorable's working on this, I'm over here working on that.
All right, let's check in the chat real quick. Strong Arm still here. Hey, Bricko, how you doing, buddy? Haven't seen you in a while. Wizard Builds, hello. Yes, strong on every day. Well, maybe not every single day. I've got a couple of life things I'm planning on, a couple of trail rides with my Jeep Club and stuff like that. And then, of course, I need a day to not be on camera and not be breathing in toxic fumes. So every day I'm working on it or doing major work on it, I will be streaming, which will be exciting. Hopefully, I can afford a new microphone by then. I've been looking at new microphones because I feel like that would be helpful for some reason. And I finally figured out how to set my phone up over my workbench. To anybody who has seen the BK1S how to fix video that I did, I think I put that up yesterday. Can see I actually have a much better setup. What I was having to do was set my tripod up in front of me and have my phone in front of me when I'm trying to build and work around that. But now I have rigged it up where my tripod is angled sideways between my bed and my workbench. So, and then I angle the camera and everything just right to where I cannot have it in my face, which is very, very helpful for doing any sort of recording while I'm doing stuff in the workbench. It's so much better. I think that's just about everything on my wrist, though.
Neat.
I had one more thing on my wrist, or actually two more things. Someone had suggested to me that I change my name. They said that to something different. They said having a Captain Shotgun and Captain Xavier was a bit too complicated. They suggested
Captain Slug.
They suggested Major Shotgun. I believe someone suggested Commodore Shotgun, General Shotgun, and I had to explain. No, I didn't pick my. I did pick my name a little bit because, to honor you, because you are one of my favorite YouTubers ever. But also for a personal reason. When a couple years ago, me and my brother, we used to play Star Wars Battlefront 2 together on my old PlayStation. And when we played together, I would always pick a shotgun, some type of like Vanguard or whatever it's called. And he started calling me Captain Shotgun, and the name stuck. So
that's how it works.
I'm not changing it, so too bad.
Yeah, no, like I said, there's already a Captain Slug, and there's General Strife, and
yeah,
pick a name that has meaning to you. I went with Captain Xavier. Well, I've talked about where my name came from. Xavier came from my French class in high school. We had to pick a French name, and Xavier is a common French name, and I liked it because it had an X in it. It was interesting and exotic, and because of Professor Xavier, and so that's why I chose that as my French name. And then when I got into medieval recreation, you had to have a character name, and I decided to stick with Xavier because I was already used to it. And so I played a French pirate named Captain Xavier, or originally just Xavier. And then when I got knighted, you became Sir whatever. And I decided rather than being Sir Xavier, I wanted to be Captain Xavier, because you still call Captain Sir.
Yeah.
So it all fit. And so I became Captain Xavier, and then I just kept using that everywhere. I used it in video games. I used it in Nerf. I used it in... so...
And I've explained to people that you don't have to call me Captain. Call me Shotgun. Call me by my real name if you happen to know my real name, which most of you do not.
I say that. A lot of people ask me, like, do I call you Captain? Do I call you Sir? Do I call you Xavier? And like, you can call me Chalo if you want. That's my name.
Yeah,
I tell
just
people
whatever.
I'm only Captain Xavier if I'm wearing a black hat. And that's to mean that I'm in character. So like if I'm at Afterworlds and I'm in costume and I'm playing Captain Xavier as the character at Afterworlds, then you should call me Captain Xavier.
Yeah,
But
exactly.
outside,
But
and if I'm at a medieval recreation event and I'm in garb and I've got my leather, pikeman's hat on, then you should call me Xavier because I'm playing Xavier. But every day, that's not my name. So it doesn't. But if it's what you know me as, if it's what you're used to thinking me as, feel free. I'm used to it. More people know me as Xavier than know me as Chalo. I've got people who've known me for 20 years who still call me Zav. They've known me since I was 18, and they still call me Zav because that's what they've always called me. And I have no problem with that. So it's not a weird ego thing where, no, I'm captain and you will call me captain and you will refer to me as sir. You're like, no, that's I don't want somebody calling me sir who doesn't feel like they want to call me sir, because that's just weird and
yeah,
bizarre. But if you've interacted with me and you've HVZ'd with me, or you've been in my squad and you think that I've earned the honorific sir, then by all means call me sir. But I don't expect you to. I don't demand that you do.
it's
That
more
would
of
be
just a
strange.
name. Names are
Yeah.
names.
Yeah, as opposed to, it's not an honorific title that I believe I'm entitled to.
Yeah, exactly.
So, yeah.
Well, the very, very last thing on my list is to discuss the Silly Butts Battle Axe, which I do not
Right.
have.
So I just got mine, and just yesterday I printed a replacement stock attachment point because they sent me the one with
Mm-hmm.
the Picatinny stock attachment, and I don't have a spare Picatinny stock. Um, Luckily,
Yeah,
it's
we were
just
talking about that before stream or before we
yeah,
started.
it's a couple of screws, and that part comes out, and you can swap it with whatever stock version you want. You can have no stock, Picatinny rail stock. There's a buffer tube version. But I went with just an end strike stock attachment point because I have lots of end strike stocks, and it printed beautifully. Swapped it over, works lovely. And anything pump action, in my opinion, really should at least have the option of a stock, just so you can brace it against your shoulder when you pump it.
Yeah, I agree.
But I dig it. The silly shell is a good shell. It'll hold anything up to Mega XL. And up to 4 elite darts. So it's a very versatile shell. There's a bunch of blasters that take it. Obviously, the Yeet Hammer, the Wild Style, is that the one?
Yeah. Yeah.
And then I converted my double one. I don't remember what the original name is now.
Oh yeah, 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 yeah. I remember seeing that. I can't remember the name.
I'm gonna look it up real quick because I'm curious. But again, with the Silly Butts files being open source, I was able to just take the
You can make
files.
whatever.
I was able to take the files from the Wild Style and graft it onto the front of this other blaster, and have a double-barreled Silly Butts shell firing blaster. The booster is what it was.
I can't remember if you made a video on that or if that was a live stream that you did with that.
I
But I
made
remember it was cool because
I
it
made a
had the
video on
lever
the
and it ejected it.
yeah. So I don't think I've made an actual dedicated video on my upgraded booster. I have used it in range day videos.
Yeah.
When I did one showing off the Yeet Hammer and the Wild Style, I also brought out my dual silly shell booster. Because the concept of the booster having replaceable shell or replaceable barrels was neat, but I didn't like the execution. I think it would have been better if they could have gotten their hands or reverse engineered the Proud Papa system, because those barrels already existed. They're very stable. They're very easy to print. You can just buy them. If instead of coming up with their own barrel system, they had just used that geometry, I wouldn't have converted it to silly shells. But they didn't. And I don't believe those files are available. So you'd have to reverse engineer it, which gets into the questionable nature of intellectual property. Is that stealing from out of darts if you reverse engineer his stuff?
Mm-hmm.
I decided to just go with the silly shells because they were both available. They're both open source. So I just grafted it. First one I printed didn't work. I didn't have enough flexibility for the shells to be able to be ejected. And then on the second try, I got it right, and it works, and it's lovely. What's neat, of course, about the Battle Axe is that it has a magazine.
Yeah.
It currently doesn't have a removable magazine. Apparently, that's going to be a future design. He wanted to get it functional, so he made it a fixed box magazine. But you can print it in varying sizes, and then he wants to make one that's removable. There's other people that saying it should have been either a drum mag or it should have been a revolver that takes the shells. What was that other blaster that I just got? The Ogre. See, I'd love to see something like the Ogre that takes silly shells.
Oh, yeah.
I also would love to see an Ogre where the cylinder is on top instead of on bottom, so that the priming handle is on the bottom instead of on the top. But is it? Somebody says the Little Rocket Lug is open source. Is it?
Maybe. I don't know. I haven't done enough research. I have a Spring Thunder, and I love it. But the problem with it is I am the fourth owner, I believe, and it doesn't really use the cells right. Whenever you go to prime it back and whenever you go to prime it back and you go to load another cell from the tube into the breech, it will load two of them. And I don't know how exactly I am supposed to fix that. And quite frankly, I don't want to take it apart because I don't know how to put it back together. But it's cool. I was thinking about trying to get a hardware kit and print the Battle Axe, but then I found out he was making the tube-fed version, and I told myself I was going to wait for the tube-fed one. And I'm pretty sure I can print all of the parts from the A1 Mini. I'm like 99% sure, but if there's anything that's too big, I know people with bigger printers.
Yeah,
I could pay them to print it and ship it to me, so it won't be an issue.
Wizard Builds, you are correct. The Little Rocket Lug is available on printables. I will be downloading that. Oh, it's a step file, though. Do I have something that'll open step files? I'm going to put you in here for now. Well, now I got to figure out how to open a step file.
Oh, so you're in the Tampa area, Strong Arm. Sorry, I'm just now saying your comment. I gotta see about meeting up with you sometime. I'm usually in the Daytona area when I go to Florida, so I will have to wait and see what ends up happening. I may end up being down there in March for Daytona Beach Jeep Week, so I may try and swing by and see you then. I think you said you had some stuff for me. I can't remember. I don't know. I'm actually gotten to the point. I've actually gotten to the point where I'm starting to get free stuff.
It's
the
fun,
guy who it is fun. I'm getting 2 long shots for free, which is awesome because I've been looking for one to use as my for my build. I wanted to do one for an integration, and I wanted to have another one to build and modify. And he was like, "I've got two. They're both heavily used, but you can have them." And I was like, "Yes, I'll pay for shipping. Throw them in a box. Send them to me." And it's fun. It's so fun.
Here's a piece of advice, or not really a piece of advice, but just a simple truth. It never gets old. You'll eventually run out of space, and that'll be somewhat exasperating. But getting the free stuff, that never gets old. Oh.
But like you said earlier, as soon as you run out of space, then you can start giving stuff away.
Yes.
And then it's a whole different type of fun.
Gets old. Being able to give people stuff because you've got too much, that also feels cool. Which is why I could never be a billionaire. I'd be giving away stuff too much. All right. How do I convert this step file?
Trying to see. I don't have anything else on my list to talk about. I couldn't really think of anything to talk about for some reason, other than what we already covered. Anybody in the chat have anything they want us to talk about? If there's anybody still there, any topics or any brasters you want us to go over and give you our opinion on, or anything like that, please let us know.
Yeah. Well, let's see if that works. I found the step file for the little rocket, but I'm importing it into something that can't read step files. So I went on the internet and found a step to STL converter, and now we'll see what happens.
Hopefully it'll work. I've tried using that before, because the Bamboo Labs software likes MF3 files or whatever they are. So a lot of times if I go and try and get files from printables, they will not be in the right format.
Well, that doesn't work because it has the lug and the barrel socketed together as one file now, and I need them separate. So here's the thing about 3D design. I'm not good at it either. I got really good at being not good at it. Because I got really good at simply taking other people's files, importing it into my slicer, and making changes in my slicer. Because the FlashForge slicer has a surprising number of tools. It can make things larger or smaller in any of 3 dimensions. You can slice, you can cut things, you can copy and paste, you can rotate. And with those simple tools, you can do a lot of stuff. But you're doing it the hard way. It's like trying to forge the Mona Lisa in MS Paint. There are better ways to do it. And so I finally...
Yes, I've definitely done some model editing in slicing software before, and it's not the prettiest, but it works.
Yeah, but I got really
let's see. Oh, we got a question.
Oh, we got a question?
Yeah. Strong Armor Reverence says, Shotgun, what brasters are on your wish list to get? I'm assuming you mean to get. So many. As I said, wrong shots. I'm looking forward to doing an integration of a wrong shot and a strife, hopefully. Building a wrong shot. I've always wanted to get one of the Wasp 76s, the 77s, a Sweetheart Storm, the I can't remember the name of it, but it's the all metal one. Saber. The Saber brasters are really nice. Just stuff. Honestly, I'm not that difficult to please. Honestly, I've got, if I can find something for cheap, then I'm happy with it. It'll be fun to mess with. But there are definitely some things that I'd really like to get, like a proton pack fed blaster from Captain Xavier would be amazing to have in the collection. I'd like to be able to hunt down one of Coop's Stravens to add to my collection one day. That would be very, very impressive in my opinion. Trying to think of anything else. Really, I have more channel goals this year and personal goals with my website than stuff to personally get for myself. I'm trying to get more of my stuff that I build out to more people so they can review it and hopefully drive some more sales to my website. That's more of my goals for the coming months. Do we have any other questions or is that it? No, that's it for now. Are you getting those files converted? Is it
I'm
working?
trying to find a tool that allow me to edit the step file. I just need to delete the the barrel so I can just get my hands on the lug. Found plenty of things that'll let me view it. I don't want to view it. I need to edit.
I really, really wish I could offer some advice, but like I said, I am terrible at 3D design and anything
Do I have
like
Fusion
that.
360? I think I've got 360.
Ooh, actually, wait. I do have one thing that I've quote unquote designed. If I can find it. Do I have one? Here it is. So basically, I took a Strife magazine release and I added a half cylinder to it to make it kind of more round. If I haven't
Ooh.
used it anything, and it doesn't really fit. Like it didn't really go well. But I was able to do that with some type of free software. I can't remember what. And this took me like 4 hours to do, and it still didn't even turn out good. It's just I'm for some reason I just can't get the software to work well. I had someone tell me to try. I think they said use Fusion 360 or something like that. There was some type of free software that was better than FreeCAD that they told me to try,
Yeah,
and I
so I'm
haven't
trying
gotten
to
around to
log
trying
into
it.
my Fusion 360 right now, and it's not letting me get to what I want.
Well, I actually have a question for you, Captain. So,
Yeah.
over my hunt over the last 2 weeks to find the best pricing for different browsers that I'm trying to get for integrations and stuff like that, I have come across many people who want me to help sell their correction for them, because I'm in multiple different discords. I'm in all the Facebook groups. I'm everywhere. So now I'm a middleman. Um, but I came across somebody who has an insane collection of new inbox stuff. Like you would not believe it. Um, he's asking me how much I think a new inbox brew and write wrong shot would be worth, and I don't know what to tell him because I haven't seen those anywhere. Um, I know a lot of people without like used ones are asking 70 and they aren't even complete, and that's a good price. Like how much would you say that would be worth?
Well, unfortunately, the way capitalism works is it is worth what someone will pay for it.
Yeah, that's the
Um,
big problem
the only
because a lot of times rarity doesn't always equal value, and then
no,
sometimes it doesn't equal the value it should. Like I'd love to be able to tell you $250 because if I could afford to pay that, that's what I'd pay for it. But most people wouldn't be willing to pay that. So
well, you can tell
Wizard
them
Wizard Builds
this.
ask,
Hold on.
I would appreciate any comments, suggestions on the master key I'm working on.
Well, what master key are you working on?
Yeah, that's very, very open.
Uh,
Details. We need
there we are.
details.
Nope, that's not what I'm looking for. There we go.
What website do you use for thumbnails? I want to try and get some thumbnails for my videos. I use Canva. I use the Canva app on my phone, and I just mess with stuff until it works. As you can probably tell from this thumbnail and my RAS2 with the BK1S, I've kind of started getting a little bit of a theme going. I have Canva Pro, which is how you can get like the free AI background removal, and you get a lot more like options and stuff you can do, which is really helpful. Strong arm, but I can't remember how much that is. I think it's like $9 a month or something like that. But that's what I use. A lot of people use all sorts of different things, but that's what I started with, and that's what I've been using. So, what do you use for thumbnail creation, Captain?
MS Paint.
Well, there you go. There you go, Strong Arm. Canva and MS Paint.
Microsoft Paint. I take a picture with my phone. I put it in Paint. I add the text. I upload it. I am a simple creature. I edit my videos with Microsoft Movie Maker.
Really?
I really should be using something better now, but I haven't found anything that's as easy. And I don't make complicated videos, so I don't need something more powerful.
I should look into that because I'm having trouble finding a good one that's free and easy to use, which is a very, very difficult combo to come by. So I will look into that. You said it's called Microsoft Movies?
Microsoft Movie Maker. The problem is it's no longer available on Windows. I had to hack it to get it to work on Windows. Am I on 10? I think I'm on Windows 10 now.
I have like a brand new laptop that I got in December, and I honestly don't even know how it works. So there will be no hacking of any apps for me.
Anyway, to go back to a previous question about people asking, what is this blaster worth? What is this blaster worth? It's either worth what you can get someone to pay for it, or I will tell them to go look it up on the Nerf wiki and just give them the MSRP.
Yeah.
So the retail value of a Nerf long shot is $30. If you can get someone to pay more than that, then it's worth more than that. But according to Hasbro, it's worth $30. And they made it, so they get to decide what it's worth. If you're selling it for less than $30, you're giving them a bargain. The problem is,
if you're selling a new in box, a wrong shot for $30, that's already a bargain.
The value of a new in box blaster. If you're leaving it in the box, what's the point? What value does that have functionally? At that point, it's merely a collector's item, and again, now it becomes
for collectors.
Yeah, but the box could be empty.
It becomes a different market, which gives you different values.
Yeah, exactly. Now you're into a collector's market, and then again, it's going to be what people will pay. You could put a $100 tag on it, and if it sells, well, it was probably worth a little more than that, or it was worth exactly that. If you put 200 and nobody buys it, it's not worth that much. There is no concrete thing of this is worth this much, because how do you even measure that? It's worth what people will pay, or it's worth what the company originally sold it for. The concept of supply and demand changing prices is purely a result of greed. When there's fewer of something, it doesn't become worth more. You're just able to charge more if you're greedy enough to do that.
Yes. Especially if you're not adding value to it.
Yeah, there is no additional value. It's just that there aren't as many, and if you want to be one of the few people that get it and you're willing to pay more, then people can charge you more. It's not actually worth anything more. It doesn't give you anything more. It's just the person who has it gets to be greedier. So trying to assign value to to things that have been retired, things that are still in box. It just comes down to how greedy are you?
Yeah.
What did you pay for it? If you're charging somebody more than you paid for it, then you're gouging. There's no two ways about it. If you're buying something just so you can sell it for more later, that's just pure greed. It works. It's a functional thing that happens under capitalism, but it's purely greed.
Oh yeah, definitely.
I'm one of the reasons I happily give stuff away so much, even stuff that I paid for, is that I used it. I got the value out of it that I paid for it. You know, I paid $10 for it. I used it for $10 worth of fun. I can give it away now. I don't need the money back. I got what I paid for. Now, if I need money, then I can make something that people will pay for, like me wanting to make proton pack blasters. I feel bad about charging the amount of money that I will probably end up charging, even though that I know people will pay that, and I know that they're worth that, and I still feel bad because I feel greedy, even though I'm selling those blasters so that I can go to events, so that I can meet people that want to meet me and play in games that people want to see me play in. And I still feel greedy about it, which is why I'll never.
Well, the thing about that is, Captain, you are a very, very nice person, and unfortunately, there's not enough nice people like you in the world.
But I feel like a jerk most of the time, which is probably why I'm a decent person. But yeah. Anyway, when people ask what something is worth, I go to the Nerf wiki and I look up the original sale price and I give them that number. This is what it's unquestionably worth. This is what it's sold for in the store. Anything above that, and you're just scalping. And that's not necessarily an immoral thing or an evil thing, but it's a thing. Because there's one blaster in my collection that I'm missing that I really, really want. And I've only ever heard of one of them existing, and it went to Walcom. And somebody found it at a Goodwill. They found it at a Goodwill. They probably paid $5 for it. And I'd pay $50 for it.
But Captain, I have to ask you, in your entire collection, what in the world is the one thing that you're missing?
I am missing the Slingfire DX400, which Walcom recently reviewed, and it turns out to be a better blaster than I thought it was going to be. I thought it was
like the Nerf Slingfire.
The Nerf Slingfire DX400, not the Zombie Strike lever action. In 2001, they had a different blaster called the Slingfire, and it looks kind of like a slingshot, though it isn't actually a slingshot. It is actually a Springer, and it's a weird mechanism, but apparently it wasn't very popular, and it didn't work very well, and so people didn't buy it, and so it got retired early. And I would bet anything I have passed at least one of them at a Goodwill and didn't even recognize it because it doesn't look like a Nerf blaster. It looks like some cheap dollar store toy.
Well, I will have to keep an eye out for that, even though I probably won't find it because I don't go thrifting ever. If I happen to come across one, I will let you know.
That would be lovely. If anyone else in the comments watching this, if you have a DX 400 or ever come across a DX 400, let me know. Yeah, they aren't nearly impossible to find. I actually extorted somebody once who someone had sent me a not quite new inbox, but a complete inbox, like Supermax 1500 or something.
Okay.
Super rare blaster in incredible condition. They sold it to me for practically nothing, or they gave it to me. I don't remember which. But I don't collect new in-box. I have no interest in new in-box stuff. It's just going to sit on a shelf and never get used. I like the stuff I have on display on my wall. But if I wanted to display this on the wall, I've had to take it out of the box and that. And anyway, there was somebody who their whole thing is collecting Supermax blasters. And they did not have this one in box. So they were offering me ignorant amounts of money for this in-box blaster. And I said, okay, I'll sell it to you if you can find me a Slingfire DX400. And remember, this is a guy who his entire hobby is searching for the rarest Nerf blasters. Blasters that most people don't even know exist or that were only ever prototypes. That is what this man does, is finding rare blasters. And he couldn't find a Slingfire DX400. Every contact he had on every collector forum, nothing. He couldn't find one. And so I finally sold him the blaster anyway, just because, again, I felt bad about extorting the man. But yeah, but one does show up. Walcom has one in his collection, and I'm happy about that because he is working on a more complete collection than I have. My collection goes up to 2007 and then stops because that's when I ran out of wall to display it on. But he's going for a truly complete collection, and it's a much
that
more
would be
ambitious
impressive to
project.
see.
And so, yeah, and so I'd rather he have it in his fully complete collection than I have it in my semi-complete collection. But I still want one. There's probably one on sale on eBay right now, but the person doesn't know what it's called. And so if you look for Slingfire DX400, it doesn't show up. It's probably under old toy dart slingshot. It probably doesn't even have Nerf in the name. And how are you ever going to find that? There's probably one on a Craigslist somewhere with a bunch of other old blasters where it just says old toys because they don't know what they have.
Always research what you're selling, or else you will get screwed over.
Or rather, then you won't be able to screw people over as much as you could. Because if you don't, if you're willing to sell, if you're happy selling it for $20, sell it for $20. If you go online and find out that the last one sold for $800 and now you're selling it for $800, well, somebody who really wanted it isn't going to be able to afford it for $800. And
well, then again, it does depend on the person's circumstances. If I had a super rare blaster, I was in dire need of money. I would have to sell it for a higher price because, you
need the money.
Number one first.
Again, like I said, it does come down to greed or need, and I'm not saying that that's a bad thing. That's the nature of capitalism.
Okay, I keep forgetting to come back to this comment, but Wizards Build says it's the silly cell master key I'm designing. It's 3D printed and pump action. Okay, but that still doesn't give us any. I mean, we can't really give you any advice on it unless we can see it.
Well, the trick for a master key is it needs to be compact, because otherwise it's going to be cumbersome and not really useful. So making a compact pump action shell that takes silly shells isn't impossible. I would take a good hard look at I did a video recently on is it the M235 to No, that's the wrong one. I'm thinking the 105?
Honestly, Xavier is a better person to speak on that than me. I don't even think I have anything with a master key on it. I think the only thing that could be argued would be the Demolisher 2-in-1, and I cut the rocket part off.
The M203, that's the one I'm looking for. Somebody actually did develop an M203 launcher. Where'd the stream go? I've lost the stream. Am I still on the stream? Can you still hear me?
Yeah, you're still here.
Okay.
We can see you.
I don't know what
you didn't disappear.
StreamYard, there it is. Okay. I did a review on an M203 style grenade launcher that takes shells. It doesn't take the silly shells. It takes a 40mm shell, though there's 3D printed versions for that.
Oh, like the green gas one, right?
Yeah, but it's not a green. You could convert this to take the green gas shells, but this was a Springer, and it primed just by pumping it, and then in the same pump, if you pushed a button and pulled it forward, it would eject the shell, the way an M203 does. But then it was pump action and spring powered. That is the design I would model yours after if you were asking me. The problem with that one is it's really cheap and the plastic is really soft or brittle. If you tried to put a really heavy spring in it, it would shatter. But if you made one that was 3D printed, you could probably make it a lot more powerful and put a bigger plunger tube in it, and then you would actually have something that would be able to functionally fire silly shells. So that's my advice. Make it look like an M203, where the grip is both the pump and the slide that opens up to eject the shell. Good luck. What was
I think the only quote unquote master key I think would be interesting would be the shotgun brass thing on the Mark, or not the Mark II, the bull pump mega sniper, the Moose 2. I think that's the one that has it. That
well, it's
is
yeah,
interesting.
it has the M203, the green gas 40 max shell on top.
Yeah, I think that's really interesting.
And it's nifty. But I when I built it, I apparently didn't get the air seal on the main gun right, and so it won't actually fire, and I need to go through and figure out what I failed to seal, and fix it. But yeah, that is a really neat one. I wish I need to get. I have 3 of the 40 max shells, but I don't actually have any green gas. I do.
I think you get it like a Bass Pro.
Yeah, it's easy to get. You
prices
can order
like
it
that.
online, Bass Pro. I do have a small compressor, and if you get the right adapter, you can just use regular compressed air. It doesn't need to be green gas. Green gas is just portable. You can bring a green gas can with you and reload the shell in the field, and so that's why they designed it that way. But you could also use a compressor if you've got access to electricity, and just use a compressor to fill up your tank rather than using green gas, which I need to get around to doing.
Man, if I ever make it up there, my list of want to fire brasses from your correction goes minigun, smart gun, moose. Those things are terrifying. Did you see the Mega XL one he's making?
Yes. The Greg, the war crime. Yeah.
It's giant.
It's absurd. It makes the moose look the way the moose makes everything else.
He posted a photo on Facebook, I think, where he compared it to a Rinx, and it made the Rinx look tiny. Yeah. You wouldn't be able to use it in the game, even if the game allowed you to use it. It's just too massive.
Yeah, you'd take someone out. Yeah, I should probably pull the trigger on that one.
Wizard Build says, I have a video on my channel. I'm battering with the rate of it. It uses wild style hardware for his master key.
Interesting.
That is interesting.
That would have. Oh, I see.
I'm gonna pull up his channel right now. I have to see what he's talking about. All right, let's see.
I'll wash myself out again.
Is it a short video or a long form? Oh, it's a short video. All right, let's see. I have the audio turned off. Nobody can hear it. I mean, it looks good to me. One thing you have to consider is if you have it as, if you've already got the weight down about as much as you can, the only thing you could do is add weight to the back to balance it out, but then it's going to be heavier. I was having that issue with my Centurion Strife because I'm putting speakers in the back of it. It was so heavy in the back, it was really awkward and uncomfortable to use. And then I decided to put a whole Centurion barrel on the front of it, and now it's more balanced out. I really like the way how you have that set up though, with how you prime it. Are you watching his video on it? Oh, you're muted.
I have it muted. I've got headphones on.
No, it's unmuted. What are you watching his video now?
Yeah.
That's really neat how he has it set up.
Okay, he just has it pop on the front.
Yeah. I don't know how you'd get the weight of that down anymore. I mean, it looks like it's pretty memorized as it is.
What's the question? That seems to work fine.
He says it's too heavy. He's saying he's battering with the weight of it, so it's offsetting the weight of his braster, which is why I suggested adding more weight to the back to help balance it out. Because if it's as memorized as it can be, and you can't make it any lighter, the only thing you can do is try and balance it out.
I'm wondering where most of the weight is. His pump grip looks huge. I wonder if you could slim that down.
You could always just go with like a really small pump grip, like something off like a rough cut or something like that. I mean, it won't look as good, but that probably helps the weight.
I was trying to think what blaster grips exist that you could use instead of a 3D printed one. Like if you could design it to take a recon slide as the pump grip, that would
or an Alpha Trooper.
Weight. Or Alpha Trooper goes all the way around, and then it's going to hit the barrel that it's attached to.
Well, true, but if you don't mind a little bit of cutting, then you can get around that.
Right, but you could just go with a recon slide and not have to cut.
Well, true, but that would be less custom. So it really just comes down to choice.
Yeah.
And how big your hands are. I have a hard time gripping the grip on the Alpha Trooper because it's so small. My hand goes off the end of it.
Yeah. The downside, of course, is that if you go with a recon grip and people want this, they're going to have to get their hands on a recon grip. Because you wouldn't be able to just 3D print it. You could also honestly get rid of the grip entirely.
See you later, Strong
with like. Yeah, I'm guessing a lot of the weight is in the size of that grip. Though the overall thing is long, which is going to make it kind of cumbersome. I don't know how much dead space there is, or I also don't know what infill you're using, and how much you could lighten it by going to a lighter infill and just using less plastic. But I think a lower profile pump grip would probably help, because it's not something that you're going to be pumping repeatedly, like something that's like magazine fed or something like that, or belt fed where you have to constantly be pumping it, you could probably go with a much simpler pump, like a side pump, a bolt side pump or something. Again, in order to reduce the overall side, though, given the weight of the spring that you probably have in there, I'm not sure how much you could minimize that without compromising the structural integrity, and without. See, the other option is going to involve a lot more hardware or additional hardware. You're using is it just a wild style hardware kit? As in, if you buy a wild style hardware kit from Out of Darts or Silver Fox or whoever, you don't need any additional hardware to print this and build it? I don't know.
That would be interesting, especially if you could sell those files, or whatever you want to do with the files, and that'd be really interesting. Yeah, there's a lot of people out there who want to be able to take hardware kits that already exist and make new 3D printed blasters. There's already been discussion of taking the Fury X and using it as a hardware kit and taking the internals out and then designing a whole new blaster around that because of how cheap it is.
That's actually a very good point, because that'd be a real cheap hardware kit.
Yeah, I mean, it's $15 and you have everything you need. 140 FPS.
Yeah.
Everything. It has 34 screws in it, so you have plenty of screws.
Yeah.
It's got all. I mean, you can even take out one of the mag releases and only have it take talons or katanas or whatever it is. Then you have extra springs. I mean, there's many ways it can be reused.
Yeah, I'm kind of surprised more people that hasn't been done already. That's a really good idea.
It's not my idea. Don't give me any credit. Someone was talking about it on Discord. I don't even remember who. The goal is a wild style hardware and 1 box of bolts on Amazon. That's $8. I mean, that sounds good to me. Okay. I don't know how much a hardware kit costs, but that sounds pretty good.
Yeah, my point was, if instead of having a 3D printed grip, if you had a metal grip or a ABS pipe grip or something that's going to be lighter than that big bolty 3D print one. Also, looking at the overall length, it's not bad, and I assume it's not bad because of the cat. I'm wondering if there's any way to shorten it.
But also, it looks amazing. Like, it looks fantastic.
It looks great.
If you don't mind it being,
if you had a long barreled blaster, because you had a fairly short barreled blaster you have it on, but if you put it on a long barrel blaster, it would look beautifully proportionate. It's a gorgeous design.
Honestly,
yeah, it's definitely going to make your blaster very front heavy.
Yeah, if it was me, I probably wouldn't worry about the front heaviness. I just run a 2-point string and maybe have 1 point going to the front of it or something like that, or I just ignore it and deal with it. Because it looks amazing. Like, that is, it looks fantastic.
I've got it. In order to make this thing work, you're going to need to build a bullpup primary to put it on, so that all of the weight of the bullpup blaster is behind the grip.
That's a good idea.
This is mostly a facetious suggestion, but it would actually solve some of your problem. Because right now, you're running it on a gin, where the battery is in. Oh no, you've got a battery stock on it, so the battery should be behind, but your wheels are all in front. Whereas a bullpup design, it'd have all the weight behind the grip, and it would shift all of the weight back. Mostly, I'm just talking rubbish now.
I mean, that would work though. I mean, that could definitely work if you're not trying to have it on one blaster. If you're open to creating something universal that you can put on something different, and you're not like building it just for this one build that you're doing, I think that's something that would be worth looking into.
It looks like it's Picatinny rail attached, so it would probably fit on anything that's got lower Picatinny rail.
He says it's 13 inches long without cells, so
okay.
That's not terrible.
No, that's not bad at all. But like I said, without actually seeing it and having it in hand, I don't know where the weight is. My gut reaction is that a lot of the weight is in that pump grip, just because it needs to be beefy to be solid. But if you could engineer that to be lighter, or if you could add hardware into it, aluminum plates or aluminum bars or something to cut down. Again, like I said, I don't know what your infill is. If you're printing this thing at 100 infill, it's going to be really heavy. If you're printing it at 15, it'll be a lot lighter. But I don't know if it will tear itself apart if you lower the infill too much.
But you also, like you said, you're trying to make it as affordable as you can. So if you add more hardware, like aluminum
exactly.
bars or anything like that, it's
that
going to up the price.
If right now it's just a wild style hardware kit and a couple of bolts, that's wicked cheap and cool because the hardware kit already exists. You're not making a new hardware kit.
Yeah, it's very simple and it's a very, very, very good idea. So
I'm just wondering how much material you can take out of all of it. Because I mean, that's your issue. Is I'd also need to see
you
the
don't want it to
internals
be
to see
weak.
if there's a way to shorten it. Because if it was shorter, it would have less material. But then you would be changing potentially the hardware again because you need shorter bars. I know there's a lot of threaded bars in the wild style.
And that will get expensive. Having to try and get those made or sourced would be expensive.
Yeah, or you'd have to talk to like Out of Darts or whatnot to create a different hardware kit that just has slightly shorter bars. But you'd need to convince them that this is something that's going to sell, and for that, it's going to need to be lighter, and so on and so forth through the loop of engineering. But I like it. I want one. I don't care if my blaster's heavy. I carry heavy blasters. And I need something on my primary that fires Mega XL.
Well, Wizard Build, sounds like you already found someone to test your design, so you know where to send the files and the hardware kit.
Yeah. Send me this hardware kit. If you want to send me the files, I'll take a look and see what I can minimize. Right. We've been at this for almost 2.5 hours.
Yeah, my phone's at like 28%, and it was like fully charged when we started.
The Swamp
My
Cat
laptop is about dead, so
well, then I think
probably a good time to end this.
Yes, this has been lovely. This has been fun.
Yes, it has. We should do this again sometime. I think the last time we did it was in August, I think. So maybe not so far apart next time.
We'll see. I mean, I live stream every other week with Al the Geek, so I'm already. But yeah, maybe not quite that far.
We'll have
maybe
to
in
wait
March.
and
Let's
see.
look at March.
Yeah, that would work because I'm going to be busy all February.
Yeah, me too. Got stuff. What with proton packs.
All right, well, I will talk to you about that. Well, thank you everybody for watching. I hope you enjoyed. I hope we've been some help to all of those who have asked questions and needed advice. And to everybody else, I hope you enjoyed watching us be nerds.
Nerds.
It's what we do.
I had Lego arrive today and gizmos and widgets. I got widgets for my gizmos. But then the person who sent me the gizmo is sending me the official widget. Which I could have saved myself some money and some time if I just reached out to them in the first place. Because I just ended up going on Amazon and having to try to figure out which was the right widget for the gizmo. And I was pretty sure that I'd ordered the right widgets for the gizmos, but I wasn't 100% sure. But it turns out I was right. So I don't need their fancy official widgets. But
too many cliffhangers. We need more details.
You can't have details. I'm under NDA. So you
NDA.
Get nothing. Yeah.
Except the very vague description. Just enough to get us super excited.
Yeah.
And start theorizing.
That I've got a gizmo with widgets. And they're sending me the official widgets. And I'm glad they're sending me the official widgets because that way when I do my review, I can say there is an official widget. Because otherwise your gizmo won't work on your What's-It. And what's the point of a gizmo that doesn't work on your What's-It? Well, they've got a widget for that. So you get the widget with the What's-It and then you can put the gizmo. This will all make sense this time next week.
I will have to pay attention to that. I pay attention anyways, but I will pay even more attention.
Yeah. The question is whether the official widget is going to show up before I need to film the video in order to have it out when they want it out. Because if it doesn't,
well, you could always ask them
if
for like an extension.
Well, other than that, I'll just pretend the widget that I'm using is their widget, and then
I mean, if it looks the same, then
it's going to look real close. I can only imagine, but
yeah, I mean, if it's close enough, and it's nobody's going to be paying that much attention to one little bit, unless it's the big bit. I don't know what we're talking about here. So
the real dirt here is I'm pretty sure the whatsits that I ordered, the widgets that I ordered, are going to be way cheaper than the official ones. Because this is some
getting all sneaky.
Stuff. This is some high end gizmos here. So the whatsits.
Now I'm going to be very, very disappointed if it isn't some type of brushless build.
Wouldn't that be neat?
Is that what it is?
No. But I do need to do more brushless because I have the ability to do it. I know how to code it. I know the hardware. I know all of that. One of these days, I was originally wanted to make Tyr brushless, but I did not know how to do it at the time, and now I do, and I need to repair Tyr because she blew a flywheel motor or a flywheel again.
I'd love to get into that, but I'd like to use one first. I don't think I have anything like that, anything fancy like that. I had a chance to buy an FDO3. They wanted $600 for it, and I was like, no.
Yeah.
I will get a Diana or something like that first.
I got my original one, the one that I use for HVZ, which is a full dart one from FDL. It was one of the last ones they ever made. And I had actually meant to get the Select Fire version, but I checked the wrong box on the order sheet and ended up with the semi-automatic version, which I ended up being much, much happier with because the semi-automatic one is less complicated and therefore inherently more reliable. And for HVZ, I don't need burst. I need reliable. And that thing never jammed or failed or had any problem in the 6 years I've been running it as my HVZ primary. I ended up getting a Select Fire one. I smuggled it home from Denmark.
I remember you talking about that. That's also on the list for me to shoot next time I come up there, or when I finally come up there. You have so much cool stuff.
I've got everything, man. I got all the toys.
Yeah.
It's one of the things when people come here. It's like, okay, what do you want to shoot? I want to shoot all of it. We don't have time for that. You're going to have to pick one. I'll take that one. Really? The Tactical Jolt Mark II, that's what you're going to go with? Okay.
Okay, don't judge, but the strife that looks like a guitar and your string fire or like the two, I don't want to say weird, but like kind of gimmicky ones I'd want to use.
My sling fire hits 120 FPS, man. It's not gimmicky.
I know.
That's a good blaster.
That's why I'm excited about it. I thought about doing something to mine, but when it came time to where if I wanted to do it or not, I just didn't do it. I went with a Rampage mod instead, and the Rampage mod ended up having Alpha Trooper internals in it, which are now inside of a Retaliator, which may actually finally go in an Alpha Trooper now that I have one.
See, now the problem with the guitar one is I don't know if it even works. I've never even put batteries in it. It's stopped.
Really? Yeah. Oh, I didn't figure it was modded, but it looks cool. For a while, I couldn't even tell it was a strife. I had to pay a lot of attention to it to realize that it wasn't, or that it was a strife. I thought it was an actual guitar, and I didn't know why it was on the wall.
No, that one was a mod exchange. I did a Demolisher Firefly integration for him, and he built me the guitar. But it's purely a cosmetic build. It's just a Guitar Hero guitar bits grafted onto a strife, and is fantastic. And someday,
I have two of those guitars.
Maybe someday I'll open it up and put a decent set of internals in it, but where am I ever going to use
It would
them?
be very difficult to use. You can't really solder it. It would be very, very fun to see someone running around a game with that.
Yeah, see, the goal at the time was that me and Brett would do a video with him with Saxman and me with the guitar, but then he moved to California, the wretch. All right, we were going to stop 10 minutes ago. I'm going to go.
Yeah, we were.
Keep talking. Goodbye. This has
All right.
been
Well,
lovely.
yet
I
again,
will see you again sometime.
sometime. Hopefully in the
Do
next
your
couple
outro.
months. Goodbye.